What does XRP, XLM, and Ondo have in common? All three of these projects have been getting adopted in a big way around tokenization. All three of these projects have been making massive moves this entire year. And all three of these projects are focused on the same exact thing: tokenizing the entire financial system. That statement there, to a lot of you out there, might not mean much. But to a lot of you, you have been watching in silence as some of the biggest moves have happened around traditional finance moving on chain in a big way. From banks embracing tokenization to tokenization taking center stage from all of the big TradFi guys, to even Wall Street saying the next phase of stocks is on chain. To hear these types of discussions, to see these types of moves, it really puts it into perspective on where we are headed. I recently talked about a 100x opportunity when it comes to tokenization, when it comes to crypto. We have a huge moment in front of us. And players like Ondo are really in the driver's seat, accelerating this. And yes, they are 100% working with XRP and XLM. When we think about XRP, we just saw tokenized RWA value rise by about 9.9% in the last 30 days. Stablecoin market cap also grew about 23% in the last 30 days. Great to see, right? Great to see. Now, again, from Ondo, right? We do have OUSG on XRP. We have it right here at about $30.3 million. Nothing too crazy. Obviously, yes, this is that same product that launched a few months back. But Ondo has been really spotlighting what Ripple has been doing. They've been spotlighting XRP as well. Even back in the summer, Ripple did share a video clip regarding Ondo and what they're doing with Ondo to tokenize stocks and bring stocks on chain, and also tokenize finance, or at least specific pieces of finance, and bring that on chain as well. It's a huge move. And then, of course, yes, with XLM, Stellar has about $516, almost $517 million on chain. Stablecoin market cap up about 14.2% in the last 30 days, $200 and almost $30 million. And then, yes, of course, with Ondo, only about $0.6 million tied back to Stellar here with Ondo. But this is with, I believe, USDY. Yeah, USDY. Again, only about $619,000 tied to this. These values are expected to rise drastically in the coming weeks and months ahead, especially considering the fact that just recently on the 17th, we got a big update from Stellar that Ondo Finance launches USDY on Stellar. Now, this did happen at Meridian. We have here USDY to be deployed on Stellar, a leading network for fast, low-cost global payments. Integration unlocks new use cases in treasury management, collateralization, cross-border payments, and everyday savings. I also think that when we think about some of these expansions, it's also supporting tokenization in a big way. We have stablecoins unlock the global access to the US dollar with USDY. We're taking the next step by bringing US treasuries on chain in a form that combines stability, liquidity, and yield. Launching USDY on Stellar extends these benefits to one of the world's most established payment-focused blockchain networks. So yeah, I think that this is going to be great. And it does unlock a tremendous amount of use cases, the same exact way that it unlocks a tremendous amount of use cases for even the XRP ledger. Because again, with OUSG, it does give us the same exact benefits that it brought to Stellar with USDY. But again, it's also focused on the next point, which is, what does this do? What does this unlock? And we mainly look at tokenized assets. This is liquidity. This is creating liquidity for tokenized assets as well. And talking about this, right, we look at Ondo and what Ondo has been doing with some of these networks. like I said, with XRP and XLM, there's only about $30.9 million tied back to these two networks, but Ondo itself has a massive amount of money tied back to it. In fact, we have $1.71 billion in terms of total value tied back to Ondo. It's up 23+% in the last 30 days. The holders around RWAs on Ondo as well is up 65+% in the last 30 days, surpassing over 26.4 thousand. Monthly transfer volume also up 850% in the last 30 days, sitting at about $642 million. And then also monthly active addresses is up over 2,400+%, 21,285. And it also has 105 RWAs tied to it. Now, if you guys do remember, this is all tied back to that recent announcement on the 3rd. So this is, over 2 weeks old now, but the growth from this has been nothing short of tremendous. We have Wall Street 2.0 is here. Ondo Global Markets launched on the 3rd, and this brought 100 plus assets on chain. Now that's exactly where we have the 105 here, which is 103 total from this announcement. And then also all of the other stats here is all because of this announcement. Now looking into this is all based around stocks, specifically tokenized stocks. Looking into the tokenized stocks category on rwa.xyz, we just surpassed over $600 million. This is up 97, almost 98% in the last 30 days. Monthly transfer volume also up 45+% in the last 30 days, 341 million. And then also holders are up about 18% in the last 30 days at about 73,000. Now again, majority of this growth is coming from one player, and that's Ondo. Ondo is up over 175,000+% in the last 30 days. Obviously, this is because it's a fresh launch. We're at $260 million. This is so significant because we're only $2.2 million away from flipping Securitize from the largest platforms out there around tokenized stocks. I mean, guys, just looking at all of the stocks here, we could see that some of these stocks have been growing tremendously over the last 7 days. Like, for example, the Spider Index Fund. This is up 34+% in the last 7 days. We also have a few of these other ones, like, for example, the iShares Core S&P 500. This is also another fund. This is up 40+%. Invesco QQQ also up 50+%. Like, this is all because of Ondo. Ondo just completely changed the game through this. But remember, this takes us back to all these other networks tied back to Ondo. Ondo is a massive platform where we are starting to see that, interoperability also expanding, because you have so many Ondo products on all of these other networks, like, for example, XRP and even XLM, which also, by the way, thinking about tokenized stocks, XRP is on here. Like, if we're looking at networks, I know that XRP it's not showing up here, but it's because of the value tied back to tokenized stocks. I think that there's only really like one tokenized stock on XRP. But looking at some of these other networks, like, for example, Algorand as well, we need to respect some of these other networks, and we need to focus on some of these other networks. But the biggest thing to focus on here is what Ondo is doing. And also, if we're thinking about what Ondo is doing for this entire space, it's really accelerating that push from Wall Street and these big players to tap into tokenized stocks, bring money on chain, which is only expanding the tokenized market more and more. And this is also going to impact these underlying utility-based projects, like, for example, the XRP Ledger and even Stellar, because these players have been waiting for this moment. They have been tapped in, really focused on the future around tokenization, around payments, things like that. And this is exactly what's happening with stablecoins, because stablecoins are also being utilized in a big way to settle on-chain things like, for example, stocks, and that also impacts the underlying networks. Now, talking more so about what's happening with some of these projects like Ondo, here we have Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is betting the crypto industry will become a crucial buyer of treasuries in coming years, as Washington seeks to shore up demand for a deluge of new U.S. government debt, according to the Financial Times. Stablecoin issuers and tokenized U.S. Treasury platforms together hold more than $170 billion in U.S. Treasuries, according to latest data. This is ahead of Saudi Arabia and South Korea and Germany. This demonstrates how tokenization is not only modernizing traditional finance, but strengthening US Treasury markets. And yes, it is. Tokenization is fundamentally changing the way that traditional finance works. And it's all starting with, some of these things like stablecoins. I mean, guys, Ondo itself has a few things tied back to it. Like if we're thinking about this $1.71 billion, just looking at the asset classes here, US Treasuries are $1.4 billion almost worth of that $1.71 billion. The rest is stocks, and then we also have one stablecoin. Guys, Ondo is a massive player here. And we could see where most of the value is. Obviously, 1.4 billion is tied back to Ethereum. But I do think that this will change over time. We're going to see a lot of this value usurped from Ethereum onto other networks as well. But on top of all of this, right, we're starting to see the entire environment change around the space to support projects like Ondo, XLM, even XRP. We go over here to this video clip, right? This is Ondo's vice chairman, Patrick McHenry. He's explaining to Fox Business that the path to making America the crypto capital of the world requires smart regulatory frameworks that enable innovation. The president's proclaimed that the United States will be the crypto capital of the world. Those are serious things. That means we have to have a clear set of rules, and so that we can allow this new innovation to take hold. Clear rules and regulation creates the foundation for crypto innovation to take hold in the US, cementing its position as the global financial capital. Check it out.
The president's proclaimed that the United States will be the crypto capital of the world. Those are serious things. What we should think about is how we match our capital markets, how we match our finance world to this new asset class. You've seen major legislative action from my time in the House to moving forward to Chairman French Hill's activity that he's continued and built upon. There are bigger pro-crypto majorities in this House of Representatives, as evidenced by the stablecoin legislation that the president signed into law, and now market structure. What we need to do is prevent crypto from becoming like Wall Street, that too big to fail institutions get bailed out by the taxpayers. That means we have to have a clear set of rules, and so that we can allow this new innovation to take hold.
Now, on top of this, we also saw Ian DeBode from Ondo go on to Tony Edwards' podcast. This is Think Crypto Pod. And we have regulatory clarity is unleashing institutional adoption. TradFi is racing towards having a digital asset strategy because crypto is starting to be at a scale where it's very, very hard to ignore. This takes us back to all of the utility-based projects. Obviously, yes, XRP XLM, two incredible, utility-based projects. But Ondo also is getting a big spotlight put on it. And this is 100% correct. We are starting to see that huge shift happen in real time, where we're starting to see regulators working on policy to support this space in a big way, support these utility-based networks as well. It's crazy because it's a completely different sea change from like the previous 12 months. And this is only going to grow more and more and more. It's only going to become a much larger impact as well. And I think that crypto is going to become so embedded within the traditional financial system that we're almost going to completely, be blind to it. I don't think that we're going to realize that we're using crypto. I don't think that people will realize that they're using crypto. Majority of what we see in the day-to-day lives of traditional finance, almost every single one of those processes that we see on a day-to-day basis, all of that's going to completely change. Crypto is going to be the driver. We're going to see digital rails set up everywhere, and we're just going to see the efficiencies and the benefits of it. But it all starts with, policy. Like, we look back at what Patrick McHenry is saying here, and yes, regulatory frameworks are so crucial to unlock this next stage. And these big players are already prepared for this. That's why TradFi is racing towards this. But check this out.
Do you anticipate we're going to see this massive innovation boom because the market has clarity? No one has to look over their shoulder anymore.
Oh, for sure. It's night and day for an institution right now. Because with the Genius Bill passing, everyone kind of looks at that and says, wait a minute, this Congress can actually get stuff passed, and digital assets is important enough to do it. I do think that the the Clarity Act may be more impactful than the Genius Act, quite frankly, from a market structure perspective and what TradFis are going to be able to do. But it's clear that this Congress can actually pass bills, and it's clear that digital assets is a priority for the admin. And so with all of that in mind, all of these TradFis truly are racing towards having a digital asset strategy and starting to implement it, because crypto is also starting to be at a scale where it's very, very hard to ignore.
Do you anticipate we're going to see this massive?
And yeah, I mean, listen, crypto is extremely hard to ignore. At this stage, with everything that we have witnessed over the last couple of weeks and the last couple of months, with market structure upcoming as well, I mean, guys, this space is ready for takeoff. It's the same exact reason why we're starting to see the values across the board for tokenized stocks, even treasuries, stablecoins, and players like Ondo really are at the forefront of this. But we're seeing these values rising drastically. We're seeing players like Ripple and Stellar constantly announcing new partnerships, integrations, and the growth around those networks as well is just incredible to see. This is only going to continue to grow. I would argue that a lot of these values, a lot of these networks are going to 10x their volume, their value tied to them, and just the demand as well. So, we're in for an incredible time in the space, especially those that are holding utility-based projects. I'm very excited about the future. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, this has been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.